Today we are going to have, it's a sharing of experiences. So we have Isabel Bonnassies, it's like
Bonnassies.
that. And she's going to share her experience working tolerance and peace in eTwinning projects. I have the pleasure to introduce to you Isabelle Bonnassies. She's a teacher, and she has been involved in eTwinning for 5 years, and she also won a prize with the project Rainbow Village, which is a project that has worked these topics, these themes on tolerance and peace. And we would like to ask Isabel to tell you her experience. And we know that in eTwinning we can learn a lot from each other. So that's the point of this seminar, is to learn from each other. Okay, so Isabel.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, the initial idea was, as you can see in the title, to get all the people work together in order to build a village. So we decided to call it the Rainbow Village. Its purpose was, first of all, learning to live together, because we were different partners from different countries. So there was a partner from Italy, from England, from Turkey, from Poland, from Romania, and finally my pilot who came from Greece, right? So anyways, this is what I explained to my pupil, that we all came from different countries and that we all had to live together in order to form what we call, Europe. And originally, the idea was the Rainbow Village. I mean, I guess that you all know, that this is the name for South Africa. And we took Mandela's motto, which says, "A nation at peace with itself and the world." So this was our leading idea. This is what really guided us throughout this project, and it also gave us the opportunity to expand our pupils' knowledge on the English-speaking world. Right? So I'd like, first of all, to speak about the initial situation. Now, in this project, our pupils had to use a lot their imagination, and so we said that it has nothing to do with the real world. So you're going to create your own world. You will have to imagine a totally new situation. And the initial situation said that a national disaster has destroyed it on Earth. And a small group of people managed to escape. So each time we got the pupils to discuss the disaster and to see what they would do about the disaster. So we split the groups into two, really. I mean, those who were proficient enough to write text and those who were not, and who were in charge of drawing, making drawings to illustrate the initial situation. And so I'd like you to now go on to the next slide. We'll show you an example of the text that goes with the initial situation.
So you're mentioning this slide with the rainbow?
Yes, the one with the rainbow, so it should be the next one. The one
yes.
that says Sunday pollution.
Yes, it is. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so again, we try to make them responsible citizens, citizens who would respect the environment they are living in. So that was also part of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is an example of the work that was done by a pupil from Romania. Okay, so the Romanians were, are usually highly creative people, and we really enjoyed working with them. So the first activity, as in any eTwinning project, has to do with breaking the ice, getting them to know each other. So we decided to have introductions and avatar creations. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, they are creating a new world, so they're taking up a new physical appearance, new personality, okay? And each time, it's always, I mean, we inform them that they have to respect each other, to respect all the pupils' differences. They prepare their self-introduction, which is a good way for them to update their profile, because this project was a year-long project, and as they had to do lots of activities, we had to have some kind of, time savers, so that they did not spend too much time on introducing themselves. Some of them were good enough to introduce themselves through Vokies. Okay, so it's as somebody mentioned, it has to do, on the Who is Who project, and then at some point we were able to organize video conferences so that with the description they had read, they tried to recognize themselves and ask each other questions. So that was a game that they could play during the conference. This is an example because I think this is nice to see, things that pupils can do. Okay, so this is an example from a colleague again from Romania, I think, right? And another one, I mean, both of them are from Romania. Okay, and the funny thing about the young boy is that we met him when we went to Croatia. So we could see that really his description matched the way he is really, because he was a very, very friendly kid, and he was very, very funny. Okay, and again, we focus, for example, on the names, because sometimes they say, oh, their names are different from ours. So again, it's tolerance, and we also found interesting if they had, for example, different celebrations, religious celebrations. We could focus on those differences. Again, another example of what I mentioned with the Voki. So the interesting thing about the Voki is that you can either get your pupils to record their own voices, but if they don't feel confident enough, they can time their text, and then a voice will record it. And you can find some kind of pedagogical use for this, because you have Irish, American accent, so this is quite interesting. Okay,
sorry, too fast?
No, this is okay. And okay. I wanted to make a short comment on the slide that was on the far right. This had to do with creating blog schools, where they could present their school, show that their environment was different, that the landscape was even different. The big challenge we had was the creation of transnational groups, because I feel that this is the most difficult part of when you're leading such a project, is getting them to interact throughout the project. I don't mean that all of them are going to interact, but the greatest number. So what we did, we created transnational groups. So we were in charge of more or less of that. We read the profiles. Those who connected earlier, we tried to get them in the same groups, but we told them that they had to find a name for their group, so that they try to interact, send messages, say why they choose to be called, for example, the friends, what each word meant to each group. Okay, so this is something that was quite a challenge, I must say. Then we also had a leading story. So what I mean is, you remember when I talked about the initial situation. So this is what is going to follow us throughout the project. And the purpose is to get them to be highly creative, to use their imagination as much as possible, so they have kind of adventures before reaching this rainbow village. Yes, for example, this is an example of what the teachers, as teachers, we wrote, for example, for building the village. So we're trying to relate all the things to what has been done by the pupils before or after the planned activity. For example, here we are referring to a Rainbow Village Golden Book. So, it's like, when you get into into a famous monument or etc., and then you have to sign this golden book. So in this book we collected all the kids' presentations, and this is very important because they can see what they've done, and it's always motivating for them to be able to see their work rather than having it on a piece of paper. Okay, and this is, for example, what we imagine, having a dragon, because I haven't told you, but the most active pupils were the 10, 12 year group. Anyway, they were very, very active. So they are, at that age, they are usually very imaginative kids. So we try to build a common space, okay? So before starting this activity, we discussed in our classes what a village needs to be a village, what a nation needs to be a nation, and little by little we try to get them to explain what activities should be. So, for example, they said that step one is they have to build a village. Okay, so they're going to draw a map of this plan of the village, and in this village they said, okay, we need official buildings like a town hall, what else? I mean, what have we got? I mean, a church or things like that, okay? And they also said that we need places where we're going to meet, so they had some kind of public meeting space, or places where we go if we want to buy meat, or what we want to buy books, etc. So they had to build these places, and each kid was in charge of building this place. So when I'm talking about building, I mean also making, taking some cardboard and making the thing. Yes. In that, because I saw a comment about Minecraft. So yes, you can use Minecraft, but this was our very first project. So as I said, we were experimenting lots of things. So we found it very difficult to go into Minecraft, but this is a great idea. I mean, you can use in other projects we used Sweet Home, things like that. Anyway, so this is an example of the building. So you've got a supermarket, a bakery, and then within each, for example, the person in charge of the bakery had to explain, for example, what his job consisted when he opened the shop, so his working hours. He had to explain the tools he needed to do his job, and so on. So this was really linked with what they were learning in class, because we also felt that this project had really to be integrated into our syllabus, so that the kids would not have to do extra work. Okay? Right, so that, yes. So step 2 was writing the brochure. So when they had built this village with whatever material they had, They detail and explain the purpose of each building, and they had to write their own text. Okay, so in this respect, they could see that, for example, the buildings were not the same depending on each culture, and also, for example, we try to do things later on the material that was used to build the houses. For example, in the region where I live in France, the houses are made of red bricks. So this is typical, I mean, in France. So we explained to the kids that their French houses would be made of red bricks, for example, right? Another example of the work, so this is an example with a drawing and the text, right? So they just use their imagination, and in this case, they also use expression structures that they had learned in class in order to tell people how to get to a place and so on. Okay. And yes, this is another example of what had been done by younger groups, but each time we just said that this is not just about building with whichever material is available in your school, but it has to do with also writing a short text. And for example, I like this one. I mean, because there was the small, obelix, so quite a funny reference to France in this one. Okay, so this is, for example, whichever material they could bring. So, for example, here they brought small characters, okay, and that was, I think, the French team, for example. Okay, so explaining the working hours and so on. And at the end of this activity, we also asked the kids to vote for the best village, okay, and then it was decided that this would become our rainbow village. So as far as I remember, the Greek team won this contest. So step 3 is, as had been decided by the kids, was agreeing on common rules, because we say that, you can't live in a village without abiding by rules. So what we did, each country was working separately, and they proposed rules. And then we put the rules together and organized some kind of vote to see which rule they felt most or best suited their village. So here are some examples, okay? Right, so anyway, so the Italian, and it's interesting also that they mentioned if they agree, for example, the Italian group agrees with all the rules. So again, it's, they're learning some kind of democracy, respecting other proposals, not just rejecting them and saying, okay. So interesting also to know that they also focus on things about nature and health. Okay, so these are the drawings, for example, that the younger ones did. Okay, because sometimes they were not totally agreed to write, long text. But anyway, they managed to participate. So I think also that it's important to get, especially if you're having different levels participating, get all of them to participate, and they learn from each other. Okay, so this is another, very interesting, because that was a proposal that was made by the pupils and say, respect other cultures, be friends with each other, and then it mentions solidarity. So that's just word that they found, okay. Then, as we said, we need to give life to this village. Was deciding upon voting rule, and being, democratic in a way. So, there were things about the age, whether women could vote, etc., and so forth. Anyway, and then step 5, becoming a candidate. So this was not compulsory. We said, each country could have 2 or 3 candidates, depending on the way they feel about it. Okay, so they wrote a program, just like our politicians can do. Okay, so some of them focus on the village. Others focus a little about schools and so forth. Okay. Some of them, I think this one managed, they recorded this presentation, okay? So they both had the text and the recording, but they were free to do whichever way they wanted. And I think you can give some kind of, leading idea, but then if you're too strict about what you expect, you don't leave enough room for their own creativity. So in this case, we asked all schools to connect, to watch the videos, to look at the programs, and to vote. Okay, so then we published the result, because this is also important for them, so that they can see that people are interested in what they did. Okay, so once again, it motivates them, right? And we even had a thank you message from the mayor. So, and so the mayor
Sorry, Isabel. I just pasted the URL for the YouTube video in the chat, so if participants of this seminar can watch it later, it's on the chat box. Okay?
Yes. Okay. So let's see what a nice job this young boy did, and they were very happy. Because I remember discussing it with my class, and then they said, "Oh yes, we were right to vote for him. He'll be a good mayor." Okay, you involve them, and you get little by little, make them, citizens, future citizens. Yes. Step 6, we said we now need a flag and an anthem. Okay, so again, I insist on the fact that they were the ones who decided upon the different steps. Okay, so again, different people proposed, there was a vote, and this is what they came up. Okay, so they liked this one, especially, and they said that they liked it because there was again the rainbow, like a trademark. Okay, and the anthem. So just before starting writing the anthem, we discussed with them, what each anthem, the anthem in each class. So for example, the French one, and we discussed, what the Marseillaise means, the words, we focus on the words, and then we said, okay, each country will be in charge of writing the anthem, and the anthem will travel from one country to another. So we had very, very short time to prepare it. It was just a matter of 2 or 3 days. And the funny thing is that sometimes, to get things moving, because we are getting to the end of the year and getting to the end of the project, we try to get them to prepare it a little in advance. And we found that the kids, without even having carefully looked at what other countries had written, more or less focus on the same ideas, living in peace, a clean world, peace, no boundaries, happiness, etc. So this was a good thing. I mean, we could see that somehow we we saw that they understood what we really aimed at, and that somehow we managed to get the message across. Okay.
Thank you, Isabel. We have already some questions in the chat, so I'm going to ask you those questions if that's okay.
Okay.
So